Oh well.
Okay.
Oh, we're back.
Okay.
It looks a lot better.
Hopefully, I down the bit rate a little bit too. Um, Hopefully, people have a better viewing experience now, and it won't be so bloody laggy. I don't know what the heck is going on.
Yes. Yes, lots better.
You know,
I can see myself with the delay.
yes. You know, the funny thing is, right before we started this, epically horrible stream this morning, Brian pinged me and he goes, yeah, C# Fritz is talking about what a pain OBS is on the Mac. And I'm like, hey, I resemble that remark. And then we start the stream, and wow, it has been epic this morning. I don't even know what to say about that. Like all this lag and it's flawless now. So, the weird thing is, like who was it said, Sinclair Nader said that we were at 1080 at 60, and I looked, and 1080 60 was definitely an option that OBS would, or not OBS, but that Twitch was showing me. But when I look in OBS, I'm only doing 30 frames a second, so I don't know where the 60 frames a second thing is. Like, it's the linker's fault. It must be.
There you go.
I blame, I blame Miguel and the mono linker. It is the mono linker's fault for Twitch not working right now. So
yeah, but it's a so useful piece, and for a WebAssembly, it's actually critical. If you don't have that, then no WebAssembly.
Yeah, for sure. So, and before we go any further, by the way, I do want to encourage people. So yesterday, Brian spent a little bit of time with me, helping me figure some stuff out. And so if you look on the channel, there are some new commands that you can actually execute if you want to have a little bit of fun and be interactive. Like you can actually control some stuff on the stream. So that kind of stuff is always fun. In any case, so we were talking about some of this code gen stuff and how you're using that to kind of circumvent some of the linker and the startup cost. And that startup cost definitely is important to, keep in mind there. I am a huge fan of Magic, but I also realize that reflection can be quite painful. So
yes. It is painful, especially with the linker.
Yes. Yeah. It's more painful with linker. Yes, absolutely. And Sinclair Nader, thank you. Hopefully we didn't, why did that drop out on me here?
No, it worked.
Hopefully,
it's still working.
Hopefully you guys didn't, like my audio monitor just like dropped. There we go. Okay. OBS is being so weird. It froze on me, so it wasn't showing me any level changes. So I'm like, do I still have that bug where it cuts my audio? In any case, no, Sinclair Nader, you didn't break it. OBS broke itself way before you. But thank you, my friend, for that subscription. But yeah, so what I've been trying to do is move some stuff away from like this magic reflection and whatnot. And before my sound did decrease, but let's try that.
It did not.
Hopefully that fixes it there. In any case, perfect. So before we started streaming, Jérôme and I were kind of talking a little bit about actually the MVP summit last year, which apparently will be the last MVP summit for several years now. But that's maybe another story. Very sad one. But at MVP summit last year, Alan Ritchie was kind of sitting down with Brian and I, and somehow, I don't know how he managed to do this, but somehow he did convince Brian that we should add an I auto initialize. And we only did this for Prism for Xamarin Forms. But basically the idea is, why do I have to do this very manual, like let me go in and get the parameter from the navigation parameters or my dialog parameters and set that in a property that is in my view model? Like, can we just make this automatic? And as Brian and I talked about it, we thought, hey, this would be a really cool thing, but this is also very, very magical. And so if you, if you go into the Prism Forms code base, there is an interface called iAbracadabra. And so I auto initialize actually inherits from iAbracadabra. Prism actually implements everything on iAbracadabra. So if you actually want because I have a sense of humor and so does Brian, if you want to actually implement it, you can just implement iAbracadabra on your view model. And that is what you get because it is bloody magic, right? So I thought, what would be really cool is if we could do some code gen for that feature with Uno. And of course, I have to continue this abracadabra joke. So I've created a project here, Prism Magician. And I think I spelt it wrong when I did this. No, I definitely spelt it right, but it lost the character. I'm going to continue to blame the Mac this morning. That is going to be the theme of today's stream is that Mac is definitely doing some funky stuff. So anyway, David, welcome to the stream, my friend. So we're going to do Prism Magician. And so Jerome, kind of walk me through what would I do? Like if I want to set something up with the Uno code gen, because you have a package or something that I can do this with, right? Or do I pull something in? Like what do I do?
Yes.
Like how do I start?
So there are two things. So if you're making let's say if the Prism Magician is the generator itself, then you'll need to make a very simple cost to do so. So if you want to do that, then you have to add a package that's called uno.sourceGeneration. So if you go to NuGet, you're going to find that one. I think So the last stable one, you may want to take the last preview. It's just going to be easier. There's a few things that make it better for .NET, latest .NET, especially if you have .NET 5 installed. So if you search for Uno.sourceGeneration, you're going to find it. So Uno source generation. So tasks is for the application using the source generation. So you have to install the second one.
All right. See, it's so great that I actually gave Brian some mod privileges, and he is back right after we finished talking crap about him. All right. So we're doing the second one, the source generation. All right. Now.
Okay. So. Yep.
Okay. We'll accept a bunch of stuff here.
Yeah. So it's pulling up Roslyn. So you're going to have to accept EULAs and things like that come along with Roslyn. That's quite a few dependencies that are coming in. So there you go. So you're basically, so to create a source generator, it's a pretty easy thing. So you basically create a class and then you inherit from a. So I'm just going to go back a little bit in my history of the. So you have to create a class that is inheriting from a type that's called source generator.
Okay.
So just add that to your class, to your source generator, and we'll let Visual Studio resolve everything.
No, I'm sitting here wondering how long it's going to be before someone goes, "Are you really going to leave it class 1?"
We'll see. And then you have to implement a method that's called execute. So if you implement that, there you go. So that's pretty much what a generator is.
Okay.
From the get-go. So if you want to execute something or to generate something, under context, there's going to be a method that's called add source or something like that.
So I like Sinclair.
There you go. That's the best name.
Amen to that.
If you were Miguel de Casa, you would have to add 4,000 at the end.
I know, right? 2,000 or 1,000 or 2,000. It's
1,000. Yeah, they're in the thousands.
Dillbot. Oh my God, the stream is working. Yes. So.
So
in the hell
so in the
was
context
that
of the source generating context, that was interesting. So that source generator, this API is based off what the C# C#6 syntax was providing at the time. So it's actually pretty close to the C#9 proposal that's been published as part of .NET 5 preview a few days ago. And so that means that code is very close to what you're going to be able to do with C#9.
Okay.
So aside from the add compilation unit, which was part of the API at the time, and it's not there anymore, it's a different name. So what you do when you do add compilation unit is basically create a file that will be added to the compilation flow. So the first parameter is going to be the name of the file. So you can put whatever name you want. It's going to be whatever. You don't need to put .cs at the end. The .g.cs is going to be added automatically. And there are two overrides. So one that takes a syntax tree, which is a pain to work with, and the other one's a string. So what we're going to do is just basically add a comment. So just open a string, type / something. We can add whatever in there, and we'll see what happens there. So that's pretty much it. There's not much to add as part of code to create a generator. So now we have to make an app that actually uses that generator. So to do that, so you can create a standard .NET Core app if you want. That
so like a console app or something, you're thinking?
Yeah, console
okay.
app. Yeah, console app. Console app is going to be the easiest one.
Console app 1, that is what all of my consoles are called. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 12, whatever.
It was, I don't recall who that was, but it was someone from the framework team that mentioned they had console 4,000 something, or 400 something, because it was creating too many samples to work with.
Yes. Okay,
so that's our app. So what we're going to be doing, and it's going to be, just to explain it very quickly. So it's not package. You cannot make a package out of that magician stuff right away. It's something that can be done afterwards. But to make it easy, so you're going to have to add the uno.sourceGenerationTasks package now. So that's going to be all that MS Build magic that you were talking in your previous stream that you don't want to deal with. It's a freaking pain to work with. So it's pretty much packaging everything up. It injects into the build system to be to determine what needs to be done and to be generated before the actual compiler comes in. Okay. So that's what that package is going to be doing. Okay. So you can add that to that you can add that package to the console app 1.
Now let me ask you this. So like I imagine that like we could have like some lib resources, right? So somebody, like we could introduce attributes and stuff that we could look for. Is that something we could do as part of this?
So not as part of this one, because if you do that, then that means that Roslyn is going to come up into your app. Well, so that's not something.
No, like you would basically you would have this would be the actual generator. So like this would be like Prism Magician. I really should fix that. I'll do it later. Yes. Whatever.
Yes. So, but yes, the idea is that this one is going to be Prism Magician Generator, and you're going to have to be having another project that's called Prism Magician Magician. Means that's it. And inside you're going to be adding attributes and interfaces and things like that that the generator is going to be using. And that project you can reference from your actual end user project, because there's not going to be any dependency on Roslyn in that project.
I mean, the idea is we're dealing with something that probably only has a dependency on itself, right?
Pretty much, yes. It's a net standard, very basic library, and you can include that, and there's no dependency at all.
Yeah, because ideally, right? Like what we want to do is we want to introduce just enough that we have some things like that don't have to ship as part of Prism, that we can look for to give us instruction for this generator.
Yes.
and then would be safe to link out because they're no longer needed at the end of it, right?
That could be that. You could link it out. Well, most of the time it's just attributes, so that's not going to add some weight too much to the app. But yeah, for sure, it's something that could be hinted for the linkers to remove because it's not needed. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like we could probably just like the generator should be able to remove the attribute like as we process, right? Or no?
No. So that's something that is not possible. And it won't be possible for quite a while.
That would be more just like IL weaving, like with Fody kind of thing, right?
Could be Fody or the linker itself. The iLinker is able to do that kind of things and remove attributes that are not useful. I don't recall exactly which one that can be, but there are configuration attribute that you can provide to the linker to be able to do that kind of things. Okay. So yeah, so there are possibilities there.
Okay. So I'm just trying to get some ideas flowing here, but
I
love it.
For sure. Makes a lot of sense.
All right. So for this though, like if I were to kind of think through this, right? So let's just say, and I'll kind of like sketch some code out here. So like, let's say I have public class, some view model, right? And I do some stuff with initialize. I cannot spell this morning. Initialize. Yeah, there we go. Of course, I don't have the reference, so it's going to be upset at me. But I have this already, right? And I'm doing some stuff like I have public void, initialize, navigation, parameters. Hello, there we go. So maybe I'm doing some stuff right here. Okay.
Yes.
And then I also have a bunch of properties, and for those I had auto initialize. So with this code gen, I imagine like what we really would want to be doing would be to like have a method like I don't know, private void initialize internal or something like that. Mm-hmm. Is that what we would actually be generating, or could we?
It could be that. So one thing to know with code generation at this point is that you cannot inject something that would be called automatically aside from creating a let's say a constructor, for instance. Mm-hmm. So if you were to create that method, initialize internal, in the initialize method that the user would write, it would have to call that initialize internal method explicitly.
Okay.
So that's the only thing that you would have to do. So it's not like weaving. Weaving would be able to change the initialize method and actually call that method that would be generated. Mm-hmm. But source generation cannot do that kind of thing. So you have to add that explicit call to that method that may not exist yet.
Okay.
Because it will be generated.
Okay. So that would be one of our limitations here. Is yes. Okay. Got you. So that's going to be something I have to figure out.
Yeah, for sure. And it's something that CodeGen cannot work around at this point. Uh-huh. Because there's in the C#6 era, the language team designed something that would be some kind of a new keyword that would be called original and replace or something like that. So that generated code would be able to replace code that was in user code. But it found out that it was too complex to manage for many kinds of reasons. As for the whole ecosystem, mm-hmm. They may come back to it at some point, mm-hmm. But that's not something that they'll be doing at this point. So that's something to be thinking about. So if you're generating code, you have to have some entry point that allows you to do the kind of thing. Okay. So one thing that you can do, though.
Yeah. So this is going to be like our initialize component kind of thing, right? Like we're all used to.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yes, pretty much.
Okay.
Pretty much. So it can be something like that.
Okay.
Another thing you could do is use interfaces. Mm-hmm. So let's say that for instance, in Prism you're creating view models through the IOC, and then you're able to in Prism determine that an interface would be there. So it would be called IAuto internal initialize. Then Prism would detect that interface, mm-hmm. and then call that method that would have been generated automatically.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be done that way. It can be manually done, but in a general way, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm guessing probably what we want to do here, is if somebody didn't have iInitialize, we could create a partial class here that.
Yes.
Oh, well, look at that. Level 1's has gifted a sub to Brian Lagunas because he couldn't get his wife to give him his, Amazon Prime to Twitch Prime. So congratulations, Brian. But what I would think we probably want is if someone had iAuto-initialize, we could just add iInitialize, but if they have iInitialize, then that's where we have to do some funky stuff here.
Yes.
Okay.
We can do that kind of things. Yes.
Okay. So, and then if they had, if somebody just put iInitialize, but they didn't declare it because we're doing code gen, would we
could generate that as well.
They're not going to get this ugly squiggly because we're generating it.
So at first time, yes, because
sure.
the source generator is only running when you're building,
sure.
Which is not going to be the case for C#9. The generator are going to be running as part of you create a class and then it will just run right away. But as part of Uno source gen, you have to build at least once for the source gen to kick in and for IntelliSense to find it.
Yeah. So, but it would be part of the normal MS build stuff, right? Once you've generated it, MS build is going to be smart enough to realize, hey, the last build we had this resource that kind of got picked up, and okay.
Yes.
Okay. So that's good to know. So you're not going to be sitting there looking at this red squiggly the entire time, hey, idiot, you need to.
Yep. Exactly. If you do, you have to, and generators can determine if initialize has been added or not. Mm-hmm. So you can generate code conditionally depending on what the user has written or not.
Okay. All right. So perfect. So that gives us some starting information to kind of give us some context here. So kind of walk me through the first thing I would think we want to do, right, is be able to scan through all of the classes that we're going to be compiling to figure out what has this iAuto-initialize, or what's implementing that.
Yes, exactly. So that is something that is coming from Roslyn, mm-hmm. And that's the part that's actually probably the most complex one in terms of determining what to do. So what you need to do is scan through what is called the compilation object that is provided by the context. So to be able to do that, then you're going to be doing some link to determine what is coming from where. So mm-hmm. There's probably better ways to do that. I'm assuming that the Roslyn team is probably going to be adding some more capabilities to the API so that you don't need to do exactly that. But what we're going to be doing is mm-hmm. basically take all the classes that are available to the current compilation. So when I'm talking about compilation, I'm talking about the set of files for the current project. Mm-hmm. So what we're taking is going to be taking the source module. So source module is the current module. So when we're talking about module, is the very old notion that an assembly can contain modules.
Okay.
So that's a very old concept of assemblies. It's not used anymore, but it has to be surfaced that way. And then what we're going to do is take the global namespace. Okay. And then we're going to be iterating all the types that are inside. So you can do global namespace, and then you can do .get namespace types. I think it's probably if it's not there, it's something that we're adding. Yes. Okay.
Members. Yeah.
Yeah, so not members, it's types. So we added, as part of Uno source gen, a set of helpers that allow to just reduce the number of things that you're adding there.
Or type members, I think it was.
No, it's really get namespace types. So I'm going to be you're going to be adding a new get package to help you there.
Okay.
It's called uno.roslyn.
Okay.
And it's basically a set of helpers and extension methods on Roslyn that help for writing all those kind of things.
Okay, so Roslyn. So and I think the like one important thing probably for people to consider here is this doesn't mean that you're taking Uno platform into your application.
No, not at all.
This is just
No.
like these are just tools to help you do things made by the Uno team.
Exactly. That's what it is. There are no dependency of any kind on, if you're generating code at the end, there's no Uno there at all. Yeah. So it's your code is just your code, and that's it. And even the source generation tools are not about Uno and creating UIs and stuff like that. It's just source generation tooling. So okay, so now if you go back to your
so I don't think
is it installed?
No, it's not actually installing.
Let's try again. Let's see what the error messages are.
Yeah. All right, let's try this. Package manager.
Prism Magician could not be loaded. Okay. Oh, he changed the project name. So can you probably unload the solutions and load it again? That's one of the intricacies of.
Yes.
It's a NuGet.
Yeah.
Good old NuGet.
It's all right. On the bright side, I'm not Brian Lagunas, and I did not have to reformat my entire computer after updating Visual Studio.
That must have been painful.
There is that. So, all right, let's try this again. So Uno, at least you have a Windows box that works.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. I got a really nice Dell. Like I got the top of the line Dell, a while back, and it was like the year before last. And the darn thing has been just completely from hell.
Much better.
So I need to reformat the whole Dell, do the whole factory reset and everything. But when I go into that dialog, because you restart, you have to hit F12 to get to the reset and recovery mode. But it requires internet connection. It won't see my desktop dock, so it can't use the Ethernet cable. It will only use Wi-Fi, but it won't connect to my home Wi-Fi. I did get it to connect to my phone when I turned on my phone's hotspot, but then it said it didn't have enough memory.
Wow.
I'm like, I got 4 years of extended coverage, including accidental damage. I'm just thinking I should accidentally damage this thing. With a baseball bat. Since we can't get baseball season started, so baseball season is just going to be me taking a bat to this Dell. Anyway, I'm not upset at all.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it.
All right, where do we get here? Do we have to bring in names? Yes.
I don't think so. No, it should be part of the.
I'm guessing it's an extension method, or probably, right?
Yeah. So
namespace types. Here we go.
Yes.
Okay.
There you go. Exactly. So namespace type. So basically, what you're going to be having is pretty much the same thing as enumerating everything and getting types. So you're going to be having a symbol, your definition of symbol. So that you need to iterate to find the types that are in there. So what we may want to find is there a type in there that implements initialize? Okay. So to determine that, we're going to have to find all the properties that are all the interfaces of that type, and determine is it qualifying for generating code. So then for that, you're gonna be saying all interfaces, or that one is probably, I don't know if it determines type and declare subtype. So it's this type and declare. So with this, it's going to be able to just traverse the whole hierarchy if you have a class that is inheriting from something else. And you're going to be determining if that type contains the interface that we need.
So if I wanted to, right, I could actually bring in Prism forums, it looks like, or no? Because it says derives from type?
So, no.
Or no?
No. So derives from type there is it uses types that are not present in the current assembly. So that means that you're out of your context. You're let's say if I were to make a kind of a you're remoting into your code when you're doing that. So you cannot. It's not the same types.
Okay.
in some ways. So you have to work with strings and things like that.
Okay.
And so for iInitialize, we're going to be doing a very small one, and let's say all interfaces, and then you're going to be iterating all those interfaces where there is any interface that is called iInitialize.
All right. So
if you're doing this, you say that
if I'm going to have to do like multiple, like usually I just use X, but like my general rule is if I have like nested link queries, I like to start making it a more meaningful letter.
So that's why I'm using the literal link syntax instead of the nested syntax. It's easier to work with.
Okay.
But anyways, it works that way. So you can take name here.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be, so if I'm saying name here just for the sake of being, let's say easier on the stream. But if the Roslyn team would look at this, they would scream because you're not supposed to be using the name property because it's very slow. And if there are multiple interfaces that are called iInitialize, it doesn't work.
Okay.
So I'm just going to be showing you that just for now, and then we're going to be adjusting it afterwards.
Okay. So basically, we would want to look at like iAuto-initialize, right?
Something. Yes.
Initialize. Okay. Yeah. No, I was right. Okay.
Okay. So that's out of your enumerable. You're gonna get all the. You're probably missing a. Oop.
Yes, I am.
So out of this, you're gonna get all the types that are available in the current projects that are implementing iAuto-initialize, or an interface that is named iAuto-initialize. So what we're going to be doing now is adding the what is needed for the auto-initialize to work. So that now we're going to be writing some code. So that's where the compilation unit is interesting. So you don't want to work with strings and doing the tabs and things like that by yourself. So what the Uno Roslyn tooling provides you is something that we call the indented string builder. And that builder just allows you to have some nicer code and don't have to indent it by yourself. So you can create something like that. So let's call it a writer, and then it's going to be a new indented string builder. And at the end of that, we're going to be doing a toString and provide it to the add compilation unit.
Okay, and it was a new indented string.
Indented string builder.
What is it? Indented what?
Indented string builder.
Oh,
like indentation.
I'm like,
yep, that one.
Okay. I have inherited Brian's inability to type while live streaming lately.
Or maybe it's my accent. Could be as well.
No, it's definitely...
Sometimes words don't come out the way they should.
No, I'm like, I did this right, and I'm like, okay, indented. Oh no, okay, I cannot spell. That's what it is. All right.
So what you can do is just right away change the context add compilation unit and replace the comment something with writer.toString at the end.
Oh, you're talking like right here? You're talking?
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Just replace that one. So you're going to be, writing everything just right away.
toString. Okay.
Like toString.
Okay.
There you go. Okay. So now what we're going to be doing is create a namespace, create a class, because we have to create a partial class that matches the SumView model that we have below.
So we probably want to iterate over this first, right? So we probably want to do like a for each right here.
Yes. So there are multiple things you can. You can create multiple classes, but you can multiple files, but you can also create just one file. Yeah. And David Ray, which is a Uno team member, that's he likes that his class, the indented string builder, is still used so many years after he created it. Yeah, that's a lot of fun. So yeah, so that for that much. So the type name, that's another thing. So you can create a type name, so using the same name,
Uh-huh.
but sometimes the name doesn't work. So let's say if you have a class that's generic, it won't work. So you have to do some mangling there so that the file name will fit. So let's keep it simple for now.
Yeah, we'll just
but
say
know that if you have you may have to adjust that one afterwards. So
okay.
so now let's create the namespace. So because you have to create the class in the same namespace,
Okay.
the partial class in the same namespace as the target class that you're going to be augmenting.
Okay.
So you don't want to call it namespace like that.
Oh yeah, duh.
Like,
thank you.
So we have an extension in Indented String Builder that is called block scope. So you can do using writer block block invariant.
All right. So using var block what?
Don't use block var, because if you do that, then you have to use the proper scope. Otherwise, it's gonna be doing funky things.
Okay.
Then inside, you're gonna be doing just writer dot block invariant.
Oh, writer block
Block invariant.
Okay.
And then you're gonna be writing names. So use the interpolation. So $, and then you're gonna be writing the name and the namespace of the class.
Okay.
So you type namespace, so it's going to be so there's type, and there's containing namespace, which is the namespace that contains the type.
Okay. Yes.
And you have to put namespace in front of everything, because that you're writing a C# language language text.
Okay.
So just in the string, add the.
Well, okay. So in here, we're doing what now? Sorry. Good God.
So no problem. Just after the $sign quote, just add namespace, the actual string namespace, so that it's written in the end file. Sorry.
So namespace like this, you're talking?
Yes.
Okay.
Space, and then close the string, and then you do using for the whole block invariant.
Okay. Okay.
And use the complete syntax. So open the parentheses, and then do a scope with curly braces. So what that will do is it will automatically add the curly braces in the generated code, so you don't have to manage it. So if you were to be doing another using, which we're going to be doing again, so take the first using, copy it inside.
Okay.
And then we're going to be writing the class this time.
Okay.
So instead of namespace, you're going to be doing partial class and then the name of the class.
Okay.
There. So you have your namespace, you have your class.
Okay.
So now
is it
add curly braces again.
Now, is it smart enough to know, like, if it was public or internal or anything? Do we need to handle that?
So you don't need to handle that, because you're going to be following what the main class has been specifying.
Okay.
So now we're going to be writing something inside the class. So you open curly braces again.
Okay.
Without the column at the end.
Oh, don't mind me.
Column at the end.
I'm like, yeah. Why is this not working?
No problem. So what? So remind me again. So for that interface that we're adding for the auto initialize, is it what method would we be writing?
So here's the thing: is it like, let's just assume that they, for right now, right? Like, we can always iterate on this, but let's assume that they don't actually have I initialize, because I auto initialize or I abracadabra, which it inherits from, and we've actually implement like that. Like, all it is a marker interface. It literally, there's nothing in it. So you're not implementing anything with it.
I see. So you want to add the I initialize interface.
Yeah. So what I would think is we would probably want to do that. So I think it's like prism.common.I auto, and actually it would be, Prism Navigation, I think it is, dot I initialize, right? So
yes.
Okay.
So you would be writing that method that you wrote below, I guess.
Okay. So then,
so on the writer, there's a method that's called append invariant. So you don't need to. You can do. It's actually a method. So you're going to be doing the same thing.
So the
same block invariant.
Oh, it'd be another block invariant. Okay.
Yes, because you're going to be creating a new method.
Okay.
So same thing. You're going to be doing things like you'll probably enter. It can be an explicit implementation, or could be a public implementation of the method from the initialize. Both can work.
I'll say Prism Navigation .I navigation parameters. Right. So I assume we have to do like that whole thing, right? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, you have to do the whole thing. You can use namespaces at the top. You can add those using directives at the top, so you don't have to qualify everything. That can help. Another thing that people tend to forget is that you have to use global in front of everything. Let's not add it there, but the problem is that if you do Prism, and if for some reason your class is inside of a namespace that's called Prism as well, then you're going to be having all sorts of issues because the types that you wrote are not the same ones.
So actually, that's a pretty good idea. How do I go about adding these usings to this? Like, what do I do for that?
Sure. So before the namespace, you do writer.append invariant, append line invariant.
Append line invariant. Okay.
And then you basically write your line, and it will just automatically keep up with the indentation at that level and everything else.
Okay. And I don't need a using there?
No, you don't, because using is about adding an indentation level. Okay. So if you were to add, you're going to be adding a new append line invariant inside of the initialize method, and the indentation is going to be kept at that location. So it's only for you. We're using basically the using scope to determine where we should be going back in indentation level.
Okay. And Seclarinator asked, how do you handle cases in which the method or properties change the original interface?
I'm not sure about what changing means.
Yeah.
Do you mean adding something else? I'm not sure about what changing is.
That's kind of a loosely defined question there.
Yes. I mean, you cannot change anything if you have to use something that exists already.
Yeah.
Unless the interface is defined inside the project that you're using, so you could make a partial interface and add methods inside. Add definitions inside your interface. But if it's an interface that's coming from another assembly, you cannot modify it.
Yeah. So I mean, we're being pretty explicit here. Like we know that we're trying to implement for initialize here, and we know that like this is always going to have these parameters. Like we're not changing those parameters.
Exactly. No, not changing anything.
Okay. So now that we're in here, right? So the whole idea of iauto initialize is that we're doing a little bit of type reflection to see what are the public properties that I'm going to be kind of exposing, right, to my view.
So can you add those to the view model below, just to have the
sure,
the same example?
So basically, I mean, I'm gonna go with a little bit of brevity here. Just because the full I notify property change is a little verbose, but so
no worries.
So it's
something that you can generate, right? You can generate as well.
So I mean, we'll just say we have like a message. Maybe we have I don't know, string title, right? Maybe we have. So how
do you determine that those properties are part of the navigation? Is it implicit?
So basically what we do, let's say we have a person, right? Okay. So what we would do here, and like, let's just assume that for the sake of argument, that these are actually implemented with iNotify property change. So you have your backing field, you're doing your proper get and set property and all that kind of stuff. So what iAuto initialize would do is basically say, for the parameters, I have to let me bring in, this is going to be a little weird, but I'm going to bring in Prism Forms to a console application.
That works. That works.
So just so I can get some actual IntelliSense here and I don't muck something up.
Well, you can move that class directly in the console app that you've written. It's going to be way easier. That's for sure.
What I was kind of thinking.
It doesn't need to be in the generator.
Yeah. Well, initially I was just kind of doing that for a local sample, but no, I agree with you. It should be in the console app just for the sake of testing here.
Exactly. So we can test it afterwards just right away.
Okay. So let's come back over here. Okay, so we have this Prism Navigation. This is in Prism Common or App Model. Well, I was off. All right. Okay. So basically what we would do is what is it? Keys? Yeah. So we would do something like if keys dot any key, we'll say key equals message. What in the, oh, I need link. I never why is that not part of the class template? Come on. Did it not bring it in?
Yeah, well,
come on. Jeez Louise. Using system.link. Okay. Now we got it. All right. And then we would do a string comparison. And then invariant ignore case. So if it actually contains that, then what we would do is we would say message equals parameters dot get value string, and actually that, I guess that wouldn't entirely be right. So what it would be is more
can you do try get value instead? Maybe?
Well, no, because basically what we're doing is it would be the message key. What in the heck is going on? Message key, and then it would be first or default. And then we'd say if string not is empty, right? Message key. Because it may not be the same capitalization, basically.
Yes. So this would be pretty much the generated code right here, right? Makes sense.
So
what do you do with the person? You have to do you have a converter somewhere for that, or do you have to actually do something specific for it?
No, well, for the person, so if we were doing the person, oh God. So let me just say this is the person one. So we would just cast it like that.
Okay, so it's typed.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Makes sense.
So
there's no logic specific to the type itself to be converted from, let's say, another string or whatever to the person itself.
We do have a and I never technically documented it, but the way that all of this kind of works, like in Prism 7.2, this got upgraded, where when you go from a string, like let's say that person, like the key had an actual value that was a string because you did it in URI parameters or something. If you have person implement from like, what is it? I'm trying to remember what it was, because basically under the covers we use like change type or convert. Mm-hmm. So I think it's like iConvertible or something like that.
That makes sense.
So if it implements iConvertible, it will convert over to a person. Otherwise, you had to have passed it in as an actual object in the navigation parameters.
Okay, that makes sense. So that's going to be easy for generation at this point if you don't have to. But I mean, you could probably generate conversion code as well if needed. But that's something that's very easy. So that is very, very easy to work with. By default, we can just iterate through the public properties of that type and then generate that code. So you can probably just copy and paste the whole thing up, and we're going to be putting that into strings.
Okay. So let's go back to our generator here.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to paste that in and then comment it out for a moment, just so we have it as reference of that's what we're doing. Now, a couple things I would say is we probably want to add some more usings here, right?
Most probably, yes. You get link
so
for starters.
Okay, so using system.link writer.
And using system most probably.
Probably using system, because I think that was in there.
Yeah, because you're using string comparison, it's part of system.
Granted, like long term, this would totally bug me that these are not in the correct order.
It's not code that you're looking at, so you're allowed to make ugly code there if it's for the sake of making it easier to generate or to make it easier to, let's say, make it faster.
Yeah.
It's that's the whole point. It's not something that is supposed to be looked at all the time. Mm-hmm. And if it's ugly for a purpose, then that's most likely fine.
Yeah. Let's see here. What else? Yeah. So that would need system. That needs system.link. We have navigation.
I think you're good to go.
We're good. Yeah, I think we're fine. Okay.
Okay. So now what we're going to be doing is enumerating all the types, all the properties that are in that type. Mm-hmm. So to do that, you can do for each again on type. So that one's going to be called property, and then you do type dot. I think it's get all properties. There you go.
Okay.
And then you're going to be basically just repeating that same piece of code that you had just above inside of the for each loop.
Okay.
So the first one is going to be an append line, and the second one will be a block environment plus an append line.
Okay. So we'll do writer dot append line invariant, right?
Yes.
Okay. Or it does matter on the invariant? Like, what's the difference here? Because like I'm nested way down.
So the append line is always there, and append line is taking into account the indentation level at the location.
Okay,
so that's good enough. And the invariant part is because most of the time in the code you don't want to use the current local, because if you do that, then you're going to have all sorts of problems.
Okay. So
use an append line is not going to be adding any indentation.
Oh, append line doesn't
as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of it's not the nicest way to do that. It's probably some things that we didn't consider at the time, and we can blame it now. It's old code. So what are we going to be doing is adding the var person parameters key first default and things add to that line.
Okay. So what we want is like
so var with property name.
Prop dot name
key, because it's going to be key that's
Yep.
that's used.
Oops. Oh, duh. I am like totally out of it today. Parameters dot keys dot first or default. You'd think I've never written code in my life here. All right. And then we want to do that. And
so that one's going to be prop name again.
Dot name. Okay. And then we're going to say string compare dot invariant culture ignore case. Okay.
David's protesting. It was before his string interpolation. Yes, it was. But not everyone's knowing that.
Yeah. All right. So this is pretty cool. This is actually way better than the way that I was generating some code yesterday.
So now you can do the same thing with the if, but using a block this time. So you write a block invariant.
Okay, so
with the if.
Okay, so this is going to be writer dot block invariant. Okay.
And then you put your if non-string null or empty.
Dot string is null or empty. It helps if I use the right casing.
Yeah, well, you'll find it out soon enough if you've made syntax errors.
Come on. I don't know why this gets like really funky sometimes and just wants to like do random selections and then it deletes all sorts of code. So prop dot name key. Okay. Oops. Apparently I didn't go far enough.
So you're missing a parenthesis at the beginning of the using.
Missing.
Actually, and at the end as well. So your using has to have a parenthesis.
Oh. Thank you.
And you need one at the end as well.
Okay.
And now you can write the person equal parameters get value something.
Okay. So now it would be writer dot append line invariant. There we go. So, and then this is where we would go prop dot name equals parameters dot get value.
So now that's the interesting part. So you have to know the type. So to know the type, there's type, and then there's a dot full name at the end. So you type dot full name.
So I would do type dot full name.
Yeah. So get full name or get full metadata name, those two do work, but for get full name that works properly.
Okay.
So there are many ways to get the name of a type, especially with those that let's say provide you with global in front or just the namespace, or with metadata or expanded, let's say nullable, some things like that. So you could get a nullable with the full expanded string or with the question mark and things like that. So, but full name is fine for now. The API of Roslyn is so rich, you could spend quite a while to just browse through and find out what it can do.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I remember when they first started talking about Roslyn so many years ago, and I was like, whatever, I'd never use any of that stuff. Fast forward.
Yeah, yeah, you do. when you enter that realm of you generating stuff, there's so much that you can do.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's just yeah. So there are limitations, but once you find it, well, it's wow, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Anyways, so you're pretty much done.
So just like that, we created.
Yep.
We created this entire replacement for iAuto initialize, and it didn't take us anything.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
Well, that's pretty cool. I like that.
So, so now what we're going to be doing is just use that generator in the console app.
Okay.
So to do that, you have to add the NuGet package that's called uno.sourceGenerationTasks.
Okay. Now, I don't do that to the generator. I do that to the.
Nope.
I do that
to the app.
To the app. Okay.
To the or library. If you were making a library that uses code generation, you would add that task as well at that location.
So, like, if I was going to package this up, like, how would I go about packaging this up? So, let's actually. I'm going to close. So
packaging is a bit more complicated. We can talk about it afterwards.
Yeah.
But
I was just trying to.
It goes into details, but yeah, it's possible to package it. But there's a few things with NuGet that we need to add, and it's something that is documented already in the Ono site. Yeah. It's too lengthy to go into details.
No worries. We can try to keep it a little shorter here. So we're gonna add. You said it was Uno.
That's source generation tasks.
Source generation tasks. That first one. Okay.
That first one.
And it looks like you have a package that fights for the equality of all code.
Yes. So we got a lot of generators, and so Uno injectable is one, equality is another one. We got a few others like Uno immutables, and those are generators that basically allow you to do funky things. Immutable is basically the records feature that's coming in C# 9. Equality is about generating equality members based on the members that are inside your class. Injectable is life cycle stuff that's pretty amazing that David did. It's something that allows you to just inject stuff inside of the constructor of a class. So yeah, lots of funky things.
Yeah, I know, like, something that would be very interesting to try to figure out is, Ryan Davis had done a thing about using dry IOC 0 with Prism. And like dry IOC 0, like the whole way that it gets actually faster than dry IOC normally is it does everything at compile time.
Yes.
And which is pretty interesting. But what I'd really like to see is how could you make this how could we do that as a package that somebody could just use with Prism, and then more than that, like also support modules. Because if it doesn't support modularity, I'm not for it. But
right. It works. As soon as you get the compilation, then you can do anything.
Yeah. So, but that would be interesting. Anyway, that's a topic for another day. It's one of my many like squirrel moments.
Well, you gotta look forwards. That's a good thing. So now that we have added the generator, we're gonna be referencing that generator. Okay. So. Most of the best way, so you can think of a generator as so it's not something that you can do that way. It has to be written inside the console app directly in the project file. Okay. And there's a good reason for that. So analyzers work differently, and if you want to add an analyzer, you have to add a node that's called an analyzer, and that's the way C# 9 is going to be working with. You add a node analyzer and you include the path to that generator.
Okay.
So what you do is to create another item group.
Okay.
An empty one. And inside you're going to be adding, let me find out the exact name. I think it's just analyzer. Not analyzer, but it's going to be.
Well, analyzer is definitely something that shows up here.
No, it's not that one, because that one is coming from. Find that one again. It's going to be called. It's another file. Sorry about that. Source generator. It's an easy one. I wasn't sure exactly. So source generator with big S and big G.
Okay.
And then we're going to add the path to the DLL that the Prism Magician generator is generating.
Okay.
So let's make hard-coded path for now. It's going to be easy.
So we want the binary path, right? Not okay.
Yes, binary path. So does it build? I don't think we tried that. the generator
details, man.
Details. Okay.
Hold on. Let me see here, because I know I changed the project. Yeah. So, but I totally goofed up on the naming, but that's all right. We'll fix that later.
That's fine for now.
So, and then bin debug. Just want to make sure we have. So
maybe that's there too, and then the binary there. So it hasn't been built yet.
So let me just kind of move that off screen. Yes, in Clarinator, I am definitely using parallels. And don't worry, between Skype and OBS and parallels, my CPU is only at 95%. So I could only imagine how it would be if I did not have an i9. I would probably, I'd be negative right now. It's like, okay.
There you go. Right. Okay, so you have your succeed. So you have your binary. So do ignore all because it's going to unload the console.
Oh yeah, duh, whatever. Sorry.
No worries.
All right. So we'll fix this in a second here. All right. So
yes.
So let me just.
So it's going to be NetSnare
2.0, and then it was Prism Magician Generator. .dll,
and then you can close the item. Okay, so that's pretty much what's needed to be done for the generator to work. And well, let's see what it does.
Okay,
let's build.
I feel like this is so dangerous. Like, we're in trouble now.
So it's doing lots of things. So all the code is generated and kept in a folder that's called G in the ops folder, and you're building with .NET 5, which is interesting. It should be working. So that's one good thing about about getting the last part of that. Let's see how that goes.
Yes. I find it really funny, by the way, that all of a sudden they got very iffy about naming with .NET because they're like, oh no, we can't touch 4. We can't touch 4. There are too many people using 4. I'm like, you didn't think about that with 3? I mean, there are still .NET 3. Like, there's a lot of .NET 3 code out there in the wild right now. And it didn't occur to you with .NET Core 3 and .NET 3? Like, come on.
Yep. Okay, so build failed. So it loaded something. There you go. So open that one. So it's probably something in. So it could be.
Oh, actually, no, that makes tons of sense, probably, because I don't even have the person defined.
Oh, it doesn't matter. So that's the good thing. It doesn't matter.
Well,
so
that build should fail, though.
Yeah, but it failed because you're missing so remove the initialize method or comment the whole initialize method completely.
Or hold on.
It's going to be easier that way.
So, well, I think it was actually upset about that.
Yeah, it's that one. But it doesn't matter if the code is valid or not. That's one of the good things.
So let's just comment that out. And I'm going to comment that person out. That way, this should build now.
It should build.
Theoretically.
Yeah, but that's fine. So that one would be generated.
That'll be generated, so we're okay there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and hit build. And this is it should generate actually in the temporary outputs folder, right?
Yeah, so if the easiest way to look at it is to show all files in the Solution Explorer. It's easier to work with from there.
We have a G folder.
So it would be, abracadabra generator.
Okay.
And then there's going to be a file in there somewhere. There you go. Some view model.
Sweet. Okay.
So you're missing the partial modifier declaration. So click on the console app, and then you go to the.
Right here I have to
Solution Explorer.
I'll have to do a partial on here, I would imagine.
No, but
right.
Let's open that. Yes, that's that. So if you click on the console app, you have the show all file, and then you can navigate the ops folder from there. It's easier than just navigating through the other ones.
You're totally right about that. All right. So some view model.
There you go. So if you open that one, there you go. So that's what your generated code looks like.
That's pretty cool, though. That is pretty. Oh, duh.
Yes.
That would be a thing. Yes. So you can very easily write bad code just like I do with this.
Oh yeah. Oh yes, it's very easy to write bad code, but it's easy to fix otherwise. So one thing that's needed to know, if you're rebuilding your app right away, it won't pick up the changes. You have to build a generator first.
Yep. Well, yeah, because we don't actually have a dependency on the project. We have we're referencing the DLL.
Can make one.
Yeah.
You can make one, but it's a little bit of a piece of code to add inside of the generator. But it's only for the developer of the generator that you have to add that. If you're an end user using a NuGet package, you don't need to do that kind of thing. Well, yeah,
because it's already a pre-built binary, so totally different experience there.
Exactly. So if you rebuild your console app, then you're going to be having an updated version of your generated file.
Okay.
Which should be building properly this time.
Hopefully we'll actually build correctly.
And there's the G file. So the opt folder is an artifact of the build itself. It's because and that's one of the things that the C#9 tooling doesn't do. Because it builds everything. So the Uno source generator need to recreate the build environment to be able to analyze everything. So that's why it's taking a bit of time. So there you go.
Well, that's pretty awesome. So I think our build actually passed. Yeah, one succeeded build.
Yes.
So there you go.
Yes.
So it didn't get upset because we didn't implement initialize on our view model.
Exactly.
Because it was implemented. It just wasn't here.
Exactly.
So that's pretty awesome that we were able to do that. It picked up these properties automatically. So we have this message key, we have the title key, and it works. So that's beautiful.
It is.
That is beautiful.
So one of the things that can be interesting is, let's say someone actually did implement initialize. Then you can detect that there is a method initialize in that class, and don't generate it for yourself for that partial class. So that's the kind of thing that you can do, is detect the presence or absence of a method.
Okay.
Inside of the user code.
So I guess let's take a look at that real quick, right? So we have basically this entire block that is that's creating our initialize method. So how would we do this if I'm just trying to think here. So like if we are detecting this, right? So what
So to detect that, you can just take the type and it just enumerate the methods inside.
So get methods?
Pretty much.
Okay. It's that easy.
It's that easy.
So it's something that an idiot like me can figure out. Okay. I can work with that.
So you can do any. So one thing to know about that one is that to determine that a method is actually implementing something that comes from an interface, you have to do it by yourself pretty much, because the name is just put there and you're not having, you don't know if a method is part of the interface or not. So what you need to do is say, okay, I'm looking for a method that's called initialize, but that has the very specific signature. So it has to return void and has to have navigation parameters as the first parameter and only parameter.
Okay. So now, does that work if I've explicitly So if I just say like x dot name, oops, it helps if I actually had the x there. So name. So like, let's say somebody has like their actual code is like void I initialize, yes.
So the name of the method is going to be explicitly just initialized, not the full name of the method.
So it's not the full name. So it's always like I can always safely just check for initialize as the name of the method.
It will give you all the methods that are named initialized, but you can have many. You could have overloads that are that one. So you have to filter out. So you filter already with returns void, but you have to also filter out with the iNavigation parameters.
Okay. So and then parameters.
So it has to have one parameter.
So we're gonna say count.
So there's probably length somewhere, I think.
Oh, was there a length? I know length is usually faster than doing the count, but.
So yeah, well, it depends, but in that context, I think, there's length. So that's an immutable array, and then it has to be one, and it has to have a parameter that's for which the type is iNavigation parameters.
Okay, and so in here we can just say the name, right? So the type dot name.
Yeah. So it's
equals.
If someone is looking at this, please don't do this. You have to use the full type name, and I'm going to show you how to do that and to replace it afterwards. Because if you do that, then
So
let's. We could probably do like it completely.
Like so, I want get full name is what you're saying we should be doing.
No, it's so. Well, let's do this properly. So let's go at the top. Let's go at the top of the generator.
Okay.
And let's do something that is called, we're going to get the symbol of the navigation parameters. So just at the beginning of the method, the execute method, not outside. And you're going to be doing something like called, let's say, var, let's say, iNavigation parameters symbol. So that's the variable name.
Parameters symbol.
And then you're going to be doing something like context.compilation get symbol by metadata. I think it's the name. Let me try to find that out. It's get type by metadata name.
Okay.
That one. Okay. And you can type the full name of the type there. So it has to be prism.navigation.iNavigation parameters, I guess.
Yep.
And then that's it. Okay. So and then when you want to find out if a type is of a specific type, you do it that way. So you do type equals the iNavigation parameter symbol type. So it has two use of this one. The first one is you're not forcing Roslyn to materialize the name, and you're very explicit about the type you're looking for. So it's a lot faster.
Okay, so let's just say var.
Has initialize or something like that.
Let's say initialize. And then I'm going to do a little thing here where we say, so if it has that.
Oh, just make it a Boolean. That's enough.
Well, I was going to just kind of control the beginning here. So we just say like private void initialize internal.
Oh, you want to? Oh, okay, sure. Like, okay, so you want to allow for someone to have initialize method and then that makes sense.
Right. So we'll do that, and then otherwise we'll say public void initialize. Right. So that
works.
And then we'll just swap that. Good God, come on. And then we'll swap that out, and then we'll just say initialize. And then that way, if somebody has it, they're going to get an auto-initialize method created for them. Otherwise, we'll just implement the initialize method. So the trick will just be, if you want to implement stuff, you need to call auto-initialize, and that's it.
So if you want to implement initialize by yourself, then you can do it. But if you want to still use the generated code, you can just call that auto initialize method that's been generated for you. But it's not going to be called by itself. You have to do it by yourself.
Okay. Well, that's definitely pretty cool and way easier than I thought it would be. Way easier. So tell me a little bit about like what's coming to us in C#9, because you seem to be a lot more informed on this than I am. I'm maybe a little bit of an idiot on it yet. I haven't started looking at C#9 recently.
Well, there are quite a few things. I'm pretty much following the people from the Roslyn team, but there are two things that are interestingly, very interesting. Is there's a specification for records that allows to just basically have automatically implemented equality and get hash code and things like that. Pretty much the same thing that F# is providing. There's also an init method that would allow to have something to be able to provide to allow for a type to modify read-only properties without having a constructor. So it's something like that. So an interesting one. And the big one, which is source generators. So yeah, that's the three that I know of, but there are pretty much probably many others that are coming in.
So with the source generation in C#9, like, is this basically that they've kind of realized, hey, Uno has like these awesome extensions that have built on, we're just going to bring this in? I mean, that's kind of what it sounds like a lot.
I wish. No. Yeah, that's not what Matt Storgerson told me. No, that's not what he said. But it's no, they thought about it way before that. Especially with the fact that it was implemented, it was tentatively spec'd out for C#6. So it's just that they probably. They wanted to have a way too big a cake at that time. They wanted to do way too much stuff, and especially with the ability to modify code. So that was probably too big to chew at the time. And they realized that it's something that people are in dire need, specifically for lots of things that are generated or into parts where performance is critical, or especially with the fact that the .NET Core team has a very, very narrow focus on performance, and that's where you get performance. You generate code because there's no startup time, especially if you're doing AOT. There's nothing that you need to do, so that's a good thing to do for that. So yeah, I wish it was because of source gen, but I think probably over the course of the next few months, or probably releases of C#, things that we did, especially with the fact that Roslyn is not going to be supported generators that depend on other generators. It's something that we've implemented, and thanks, Carl, for implementing that in the source generators. You can have a generator that goes after another one, so that the output of the first one can be used by the second one. So that are kind of cool things that you can do. It's kind of meta in a way, but it's very, very useful. And the fact that you can use in Uno generators, you can use MS Build properties. So if you have something inside your CS proj, you can use it. Okay. And the Roslyn generators do not allow that for now.
Now in C# 9 timeframe, because I know we said that like we have to do like this funky thing where, I have to check to see, did you actually add an initialize method in your code? And if you did, we're going to kind of change that, and then you're going to have to know to call auto initialize, right? So
yes,
like, is there going to be some stuff in C# 9 where we can just kind of like inject, this piece into their existing initialize? Like that would be something they wanted to do, but no. So that C# 10 time frame is what we're looking at there. It sounds like
maybe
or 12,
maybe after
could be 15. C# 15. So by C# 15, you heard it here first, right? C# 15, you're gonna have no.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it's something that goes into the IL weaving territory. Okay. It's close to weaving, and it's lots of other things. So one thing that is very important that Uno Source Gen does, and that Roslyn generators don't, is that you can see the code that's been generated. At this time, the C# 9 doesn't show you anything, and you cannot step into. So if you were to, you can put a breakpoint in here with the sum view model.g.cs. You can put a breakpoint there and just as with any kind of normal code would work. But that's not something that you can do with C#9 at this point. They're considering doing it, but that's pretty much what they said.
Okay. So, there's one other kind of like thing with this kind of abracadabra that we do, right? And that is on some properties, what we would actually have is we would say, hey, for this guy, like, let me kind of like just write it out here. So if, like, let's say that the title is required, or the like one of these is actually required. So we would have like an else that kind of comes in here, and then, we would throw a new, exception kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And, it doesn't cost anything at runtime. That's the beauty of the thing.
Right. So that way, and obviously we'd have like some sort of message, and I think it's like actually navigation exception or something that we throw, but or key not found, whatever. But
something like that.
But yeah, so we would throw this exception here if that's there, and the way that kind of gets handled. So, and I'll come back over to this program. So we'll say that I'll do it for the message. Why not? So let's say that this is hold on, auto initialize. So there's an actual property or attribute, sorry. And so now I can come in here and I can say that this is going to be required, not to. Why can this not handle? Come on. The 40th time is the charm on this. Okay.
There you go.
Story of my life this morning. So we have this property. It has this attribute, the auto initialize attribute, and then it is set to true. So how can I look for the fact that it has this? Like, that seems probably like it's going to be the easier thing, but then the trickier part is to get extract some value out of this, right?
Yes. So that one is easy as well. So let's say you take out the property directly.
Ooh. I have no idea what just happened there. I wasn't even touching the mouse. So apparently my mouse is totally possessed.
There you go. So on the property, you can take all the attributes. So there's prop.get all attribute, I think. We'll get attributes. I don't remember exactly which one that is.
We'll just say attribute or whatever. Okay. So prop.get all attributes. Look at that. Yes. All right.
And then same thing. So you're going to be doing the same thing with you determine which attribute is the proper type that you're looking for. So same thing.
Let me just do one thing so I make sure I have this. I think it's in the app model peak definition. Can I do that? Will this work for me? I want to make sure I get the right namespace here. Yeah, prism.appModel. Okay. So we would want to do something like we did for our navigation parameters, I would imagine.
Yes.
So we're going to say var hello var auto initialize attribute symbol. Then we'll do the context compilation, get type by meta name, auto initialize attribute. Cool.
That's it. And then so you filter out by that one.
This is like very, very challenging. I don't know how I'm going to manage. Now, does this have an overload for me on that one, or no? I have to use link for that.
There could be. So I don't recall if we did that one. Maybe there's one that says get attribute or get named attribute. Try it. Take a look. Maybe there's one that exists already. I don't remember.
Okay.
Say get attribute or get named attribute or something.
Let's just get attributes.
Okay. No, it doesn't exist.
That'll be in the next one.
Yes. Yeah, most probably.
All right. So first or default, and then we have x dot type No.
So X is going to be an attribute class. So you have to get that class.
Attribute class. Okay.
Then I think so. Take a look at the type. I don't. You're missing a dot.
Story of my life. I'm always missing something. How in the world did insert get turned on? Come on.
Okay, so you got an attribute class, and then
it's an INAME.
So that's a name type.
Okay.
So that's the actual type. So you can compare that to the type that you created at the top. So auto initialize stuff.
Okay. Cool.
And then if it has one, then you can go and get the constructor values.
Okay. So I would imagine what we want to do here is we want to say if attribute not equal to null, right? And then
you have to get the value, the constructor value. So yeah, there's constructor arguments on attributes, and that one will give you all the values that are inside the constructor. So it's type constant. There's a value inside. So you can take, so you know that there's going to be only one, but you can also, let's say you don't know which one are which. So you can also filter by name.
There's three constructors on that.
Okay.
So because you can provide, and this is actually like this would be kind of a little bit of an enhancement on here. So like right here, we're just saying like we're generically looking for. For some sort of key, but
yes,
like this attribute could have, like I could come in here and I could say, well, first of all, I'm going to close that. So I could say auto initialize, and I call this foo, right? And so now I expect that the parameter key is going to be foo, and so you need to look for foo.
Exactly.
So, and that would just kind of change.
You have to change the
and
top.
Obviously I can do the third overload is where you could do both, make it required and customize.
Yes. But let's say for that one, the constructor argument, you can, so because you have multiples, you have to filter out to find that one specifically. So you have to take the first or default, or actually first, because default would be a bug.
Okay.
And take the argument. So I think they're named, but I'm not sure. So first with the name, so you have to filter out by the argument name.
Okay. So we'll just say.
Let's see if there's a name, but I'm not sure. Let's see. Is there type, values, value, kind? Is there something below at the bottom? No, there's only value, so that means that there's no type. So if there's no types, that means that you have to find out.
There is a type.
Yeah, well, you can use Boolean for now. Let's say if it's a Boolean, it's going to be that one. The problem is that you don't have the actual name there, so you can't know. So I think there's another one that there's another attribute member that will tell you which one it is.
So like I could say, good God, why is this so laggy here? So if I'm kind of going through here, what I want to maybe check to see if like, hey, we only want to pull from the constructor that has a single argument, right? And it's a Boolean.
Yeah. So yeah, but I think if you take a look at attributes, so there's probably another property on attribute that will tell you which parameter is where. So the index of, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. So like we can't get the logical what happened after the attribute constructor, right?
You can know that it's so attribute constructor. There's attribute constructor at the bottom. So that one. You have named arguments as well. So it's probably named arguments that you want to take. Okay, so it will give you. Oh, there's type constants as well. Oh, so you can. Okay, that one's new, so that's good. So you probably can because it's an array, you can find out which one that is and then take the value of that one. So so use that one.
Okay.
It's going to be easier.
All right. So
actually, is it named arguments? I don't remember. So there's a thing. So there's constructor arguments and there's named arguments, and they're not the same. So it may not work. So there are two.
So we have a key, right? And so we want to probably look at, I think it's is required, not requested, required. Okay. I don't know what an argument is, but yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that happens.
Yes, everybody is seeing today that I just do not have an ability to stream at or to type at all. All right.
So when you have that one, then you can determine. You could probably get you can take the value inside.
Okay.
So the argument, there's probably a value something, and you can cast it. You have to cast it to the proper type then.
So I can just say like as bool or something like that.
You have to cast it explicitly as bool. It's not as is not working for that one.
Okay. So I have to do like that then.
Yes.
Okay.
And then that's pretty much it. Unless value is of another type.
What's the type?
Oh, yeah, it's another type. You have to do. You probably have to do value.value, something like that. Yeah, it's value.value.
Well, then.
But you still have to cast it to a Boolean as well.
Okay.
An explicit cast. It has to. It cannot be an as. It has to. It has to be a typecast.
Okay. Well, fine then. Okay. So now we have our is required.
Typing skill goes down when the number of people watching goes up. Yeah, that could be a metric.
No, my typing ability just goes down the moment I wake up in the morning. All right, so now we're gonna say like, hey, if is required, right, and then
we can add the else.
Yes. Okay, so now we'll write like a writer dot append line. Oops.
That will be a. So this one's going to be a block.
Oh, sorry.
Yes. You're gonna add an else.
Yes, block. Sorry, you're right. Block invariant. Thank you. So now it's just an else.
Exactly.
That was challenging. Oh, I need a using on here. I'll get this eventually.
Yeah.
All right.
Once you generate everything and you get generators to generate something, generators of generators.
Yes,
that works.
All right. So now we have our using here, and okay. So
you have to throw.
Yes.
Basically.
So now we're going to do our writer dot append, right? Line invariant.
Append format. Append line invariant.
Okay.
And then you throw.
And then we'll say throw new exception. You suck at writing code. And there we go.
That's it.
Because that is exactly the message that you should get right now.
That's user friendly. That tells you exactly what to do.
All right. So that should now generate that. So let's kind of rebuild that. And
so I'm not so sure about the named arguments. I think so. That one would be if you use the syntax for naming arguments. So when you're writing an attribute and then you use the name of the attribute, then equals something. So I'm not sure if that's going to work, but we'll see. We'll see soon enough.
All right. So now, hold on, that's still building. I feel like I'm building a Xamarin app.
Yeah, it looks like that's a simple library, so it shouldn't take that long.
I know. Okay, so now we're rebuilding this. You know, it's funny. I was watching Kim Philpotts last night for a little bit, and he was modifying, the UI for his little UI challenge, and as he's like making changes, everything is, working magically with hot reload. And I said to him, it wasn't that long ago where you'd be like, okay, that didn't look very good. Hold on, I got to stop the app. Let me go make these changes.
Yep.
All right,
start again.
Let me rebuild. We'll come back in 2 minutes or 5 minutes when this builds. And then I got to go down and drill down to this page.
Oh. Maybe just build once again. That's something that we need to fix. Oh, input string. Okay, no, so that's an actual thing. So that's an actual issue. So
code rejected
is not a correct format. So a code rejected means that to go to the output window. So that's a generator that broke somehow.
Okay.
So if you go up a bit, you're going to see that you have the stack trace of the generator itself, and it probably failed somehow. So block invariant. It failed because append format has something weird inside. So it's going to be at line 30.
Where do you see line 30? Right
line
here.
30.
Okay.
So what's on line 30 in the generator?
This right here.
It's the so the block invariant. So it's not interpolated.
Oh, duh. So that would be.
So that's a bug inside the generator. So you have to find that out. I think it's during replace.
So I think we've completely. Hold on 1 second here, Brian. I know Brian's like playing with some stuff. Let me see.
Command's broken.
Let me see if I can't fix this. What Brian is trying to play with. Oh no. That worked that time? Nope, it's broken, Brian. You broke it, Brian. Good job. You broke it. All right. Oh.
So you're just missing a
yes.
quote.
So I don't know why it deleted the quote. That was weird. All right. So that should work now. Now I just have to rebuild the generator.
Just build, don't rebuild, because rebuild is actually trying to rebuild all the NuGet packages graph, which is not useful that much. Same thing for the console app. Just build, not rebuild.
I like this. Blame the linker, blame the Mac. Definitely.
There you go. It's a bit faster.
Okay.
So same thing. You can just do build, not rebuild.
All right. So I'll hit build. That's so disappointing. This was working earlier. Or did I lose I might have lost. Nope, definitely don't have that. See if I can fix what Brian was. Oh, crap. All right.
So another thing happened. Object reference not set to an instance of an object. So that's the segue to do something else, which is debugging the generator.
Okay.
Yes. So you may not know what you can find out. So let's if you go to the actual location where the generator failed, you'll see that it failed at line 48. but you may not know what you can find out.
So quick on this here. All right, so now...
So it failed here.
Okay.
Most probably because value is not the right one, or because there are no named arguments.
Okay.
So that's probably something. We can do something like that. So let's launch the debugger there. So one way to debug it, and the easiest one, is to just launch the debugger at the beginning of the generator. So you go up to the execute method and just do debugger dot
launch
debugger. Pretty much. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much what it is.
I know I'm actually going to have to wrap up pretty quick here because I was just reminded that I have an appointment to take the dog to the vet. But we'll at least go one more build here and see if we can't debug this real quick.
It's probably it's probably because of the named attributes that I told you about. It's probably not the right way to take the attributes. Okay. You're probably going to have to use another property of attribute to get the values there.
Okay.
So when you do that, what it will do is basically the generator will be loaded up, and then you'll be able to just open another Visual Studio. Mm-hmm. You cannot open that one because that one is doing something else. So you can open in another Visual Studio, and then you're going to have your source that you can debug and see what properties you can get. And we're going to be able to validate that that's the other attribute that we need to get.
I've actually seen this go a few different ways with debugger.launch. Sometimes I'm actually able to just open up exactly into the instance of Visual Studio I want. Sometimes it makes me do a new one. So it's always hit or miss.
He just subscribed.
Awesome.
Alan's hitting the keyboard.
Somehow, I don't know how. I finally got some audio on the just subscribed. Well, thank you, Alan, for the subscription with Twitch Prime. So if you guys don't remember, if you have an Amazon Prime, which who doesn't these days, you can use your Bezos bucks. Costs you absolutely nothing.
So do you have maybe you have a window that opened somehow?
So it went onto the wrong monitor.
Yes.
So yes. So this actually will let me, it does see the instance open, so I can actually step into here.
Let's try it. If it does work.
Let's see.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it does not because it's already building, so it may fail to give you the proper file, but let's try out. Yeah, it worked. Okay, it worked. Excellent. So you're going to be
the debugger is still trying to figure itself out there. Oh, yeah, okay. We finally got it. So
put a breakpoint directly there, and we'll see what we can get there.
Let's kind of come down, I think, is what we really want to do, right? Yeah,
48.
We'll put a breakpoint on 47, so we step into here, right? And
so, yep, there it is. Okay. So what do we have there? So most probably named arguments are going to be null, which is probably going to be something that is expected. Named arguments length 0. So the find first or default did find nothing. So you get constructor arguments. So that one is one that we may want to look at, but the problem is that one is not named, so you don't know which one that is. But there's a constructor arguments which is of the same length.
So like what it seems like it's doing though is even though we have the attribute has 3 different possible constructors.
Yes.
None of these are showing me 3. They're only showing me 1. So it seems like it's kind of picking.
It's just the one that is used.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the only one that's used.
So we should be okay there. So what I can probably do is just say, hey, for this is required, give me the first one that is a Boolean.
Or you can use the constructor argument. So if you go up a bit, you're going to see that there's another one that will tell you which constructor is actually used, the actual method. So if you go up a bit again, No, up in the up again. The in the arguments above, you got the attribute constructor.
Okay.
And if you see that in the value, not that one, just a bit up before.
Well, I mean, we only.
And that one will tell you which attribute is which constructor is actually used, and you can get the parameters of that constructor.
So, because I mean, we basically have two. It's either going to be a string and no Boolean, or there's going to be a Boolean. So I think what I would do here, it was just constructor arguments. I think it was, right? So what we probably want to do is just say. Var, I know it's going to get mad at me. I'll call it required. Attribute dot constructor arguments dot first or default, because the default is just going to be false, which is fine.
Yes.
And so we're going to say, well, actually, hold on. Actually, no, the let me think about this for a second.
So the constructor, the attribute constructor will give you the index of the attribute, and then you can use that to index the constructor argument.
This type
property
constant. Now, is that a struct or a class? Do you know offhand?
It's a struct.
Okay, so it's always
probably.
Okay, so we're never going to get a null back on that, but
you're not going to get a null back.
Okay, so we're going to say x dot value is a bool.
You're probably going to have to do value.value.
Well, no, this value, like that actually is a object.
Oh, it's an object. Sorry. Yeah, you're right.
So we're just going to look for something that is...
Yes, is a Boolean,
and then what we can do is I'm gonna comment this out, and then say is required value not equal null. Then we're going to say required value, and we'll cast that to a Boolean. Else we'll just say false.
Yep, that works.
And that now we should be good, right?
We should be good.
Okay, so we'll build this real quick, and then one way or another, I'm going to have to go take a dog to a vet to go get shot.
But that's pretty much what it is. And you can go down the rabbit hole, pretty quickly, if you go to very specific cases, the way to define attributes and things like that, or have class definitions that have fancy C# features. So it can get complicated sometimes, or complex in some cases, but it's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. All right, so build started here. Yeah, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for coming on today, Jerome.
No problem.
This has been, like I said, this has been fun. We'll have to do it again. I know there's a lot of good stuff that we can certainly do, especially now that you were able to help us. Oh, I have the debugger on here still.
So you can cancel that one.
Yeah.
Probably it'll just go forward.
Okay. Let me go ahead and X that out. Okay.
I'm glad I could help, Mr. Sinclair.
Yes. Glad this is, once we got past those initial streaming issues this morning, that was weird.
There you go.
All right.
You have it.
So
awesome.
So we've generated our code, and if you forgot to include that message key, you're going to get the exception that you suck at writing code. So
There you go.
Yes, I do, Alan. Well, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining today. Glad to see that it has been informative and it's helped some people out. I know it's definitely helped me out. This is actually a lot easier than I thought it would be, which is fantastic.
Yes.
Fantastic. Some great tooling from the Uno team. And I always love when I see people that are writing tools that they need and realize, you know what? If we need this, other developers probably need it too. Let's just make it available for people to use and help everybody. So that is a wonderful thing. And it's great.
Everything's open source.
It's great to have, teams like the Uno team, helping the community out. So it is really, really beautiful. Anyway, thank you, Jerome. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And we will catch you all next time. Thanks so much.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right.